Thank you very much. Guess we'll do it without Michael. Okay. Dance with me.
Welcome to Read My Lips Radio, a lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives. Producer and host, akaRadioRed, asks novelists, artists, photographers, designers, comedians, actors, musicians, composers, screenwriters, directors, and technology innovators about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's akaRadioRed.
Thank you to the voice who introduces me every week. Yes, how those lips can talk. Radio Red in the house. It's the first Monday of March. Oh my goodness. And we're here on Read My Lips Radio. I have two very special guests today, but just let's do. I didn't rehearse this with my guests, so let's see how they do. Randy and Matt, I'll introduce you in a minute, but please make the sign of the letter L with your thumb and forefinger on whichever hand, letter L. Matt, there. Oh, very, very good. I'm very impressed. And on the count of three, you're going to join me in saying hello, L, 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 just like that. 1, 2, 3. Hello, L, L, L,
Oh,
L. There we go. Matt, you weren't picking up on your mic. Let's do it one more time. 1, 2, 3. Hello,
hello.
L, L, L. That's better. She'll get insulted if she doesn't hear you. LLL is lovely, lanky Laura Legs, our most loyal listener, my friend Laura. She's in Whitestone. I've had a fake GoFundMe for years, never raised any money, of course, but in spirit, I did. Trying to move her to London. It was too expensive and too hot, Randy. So I happened to move to a place called Loudon, Tennessee, almost by accident because I thought I was moving to London, but I tilted my head and the first N in London went upside down and I moved to Loudon, but it's a very pretty place. So I'm trying to get Laura to move to London. She will email me at 6:01 p.m. Eastern and she will say, Matt was so interesting. And she'll tell me what you said, Matt. It's like a little book report. And Randy, she may remember you from past shows because you've been on a couple of times before. And she'll tell me, she calls me beautiful, gorgeous lady of red. So we know that'll happen. So anyway, happy to have both of you here. It's March 4th. It's the 64th day of the 2024 Gregorian calendar. There was a big to-do years ago in the 1500s. I don't want to upset both of you, but the Julian calendar had a gap so that October 4th was followed by October 15th because Julian in his wisdom added a day every 400 years to try and catch up to the cycle of the moon, and he didn't quite do it right. So Gregorian, Gregor, Greggy, whatever his mommy called him, was a pope, Pope Gregory 13. And he said, I don't like the calendar. It's time to make some different changes. So he went and he moved things around and he changed. And now we have leap day, February 29th, every fourth year. And it's closer approximation to what the cycle of the moon is. And so we don't use Julian anymore. We use Gregorian. I just wanted you all to know that I looked it up. Okay, so I have two wonderful guests today, and I met them both at the National Publicity Summit. Thank you to Steve Harrison and all the wonderful people who work with him. I'm doing another summit in 2 weeks, by the way, and I'll be meeting another 40 or 50 people and inviting about 80% of them on the show. That's where I get most of my guests. So Randy Rolfe is back. She's been on the show before. Randy, lovely to see you. And my newcomer is Matt Soule. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly, Matt?
Yep,
Soule. And we had a third guest who was not able to join us for some reason. I'll check email in a little while. So I have a poem here. I co-write it with ChatGPT. And when I'm done, I want both of you to tell me how long you think it takes ChatGPT to write the poem. Then I edit it. We don't ask you how long you think it took me to edit it. So let me read this. When I call your name, just wave or dance or smile or something. So welcome, dear listeners, to AKA Radio's stage with Spirit Bold and a Scarlett mic, the host. She will engage. Two creatives' tales in the streaming light in the realm of radio where creativity takes flight. Matt Soule, wave hello, author and entrepreneur with might, director of Tsun Jo, that's copyrighted, with stress tools for self-defense fight, Wim Hof method instructor, a peak potential guide, runs Green Lake Martial Arts. With his passions, he abides. I hope you like that. It sort of rhymed. And then we have Randy Rolfe, wave hello, the Four Temperaments author, so wise, a counselor on parenting, where deep knowledge lies. Institute for Creative Solutions founder, so bright, a peaceful world she builds with passion and insight. Randy, I hope you like that. A little different from the usual. So watch or listen for those of you here. The choice is yours to make. AKA Radio's voice, a creative journey will partake. on the potential of creativity, our episode new, a symphony of stories, inspiring tales just for you. What'd you think?
Beautiful.
Nice.
Good. Matt,
Nice.
I want to read yours one more time because I fluffed it a little and I want to make sure you get the rhymes. I've never done this before. You can ask Jordan, my engineer. So listen, Matt Soule, author and entrepreneur with might, director of Tsun Jo with stress tools for self-defense fight, Wim Hof method instructor, a peak potential guide, runs Green Lake Martial Arts where his passions do abide. Got it now? Okay.
Very nice. Very nice.
Okay, you're welcome. I want to make sure I delivered that properly. So I'm happy to have you both here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go around the table. We're supposed to be a more other person, but here we are. This is lovely. So Matt Soule, I'm going to put you on full screen speaker view. Everybody can see you. And we would like you to take your full 3 minutes because we talk in 3-minute sound bites here. And would you please do me the honor of giving us your full bio? What do you do? How did you start doing it? And just a little tiny overview of what creativity means to you. And then we'll talk more about that later. Matt, welcome.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. My name is Matt Soule, and I'm an author, speaker, and entrepreneur, focusing on counterintuitive approaches to stress management aimed at leveraging the key pathways of stress to live our best lives. That's really what I'm about. So a lot of my journey started with exposure in childhood to unfortunate domestic violence, and that was really the initial spark that motivated me to seek methods to combat stress. And eventually, this led to me becoming a martial arts school owner, which I've been for the last 14 years, and later a Wim Hof method trainer. And Wim Hof method is really about getting into extreme cold temperatures, like taking people to Alaska and dipping them into ice water and coming out and doing breathing exercises and meditations and all kinds of fun things that normally people would go, what the heck are you doing in there? But actually, it's very beneficial for us if you do it the right way. Well, these two endeavors became sort of the linchpins to examining and uncovering, eventually learning to leverage what I call the 5 root stressors. And so I wrote a book on 2021, Mastering the Stress Response, and I've got another one coming out this year called The Stress Paradox. What creativity really means to me, it's everything in my life because, I'm largely driven by curiosity. And I try to combine creativity to express through, the physical means. So that's a lot to do in martial art. Once you reach a certain level, it's how you combine different elements to really let creativity express itself. But I also try to get into creativity through the psychological or even emotional means. I love to write poetry. That keeps me calm and stress-free as well. It's a great outlet. I write 2 poems every year at minimum for my daughter every year, one on her birthday and one on Valentine's Day. And I've been doing that for many years. She's 16 now, and she always looks forward to that. But I try to leverage it in many places in my life because I know how good it is to combat stress and how it is to just enjoy the peace and joy in life. So I'll leave it there.
Matt, lovely bio. And I have to tell you, about a year ago, I joined Writer's Digest. They have a weekly poetry prompt that is provided by a senior editor at Writer's Digest. It's a free group. And Robert Lee Brewer, every Wednesday morning, sends us a prompt. He posts it on the website. And there must be 20, 30, 40 of us. I don't know where people live. I haven't met them. 2 of them were on this show a couple months ago, but most of them we have code names or half names or whatever. And we post a poem. He uses a disqu.us, discuss or discus site. And you have to be a member. It's just an email and a password. And we post it, and then we have a thumb up or thumb down. I've never seen a thumb down, and a place to give comments on each other's poems. And the number of thumbs up you get is like a voting routine. And a couple of times, you could do 1, 2, 3, 4 poems. People are prolific. They're very, very talented. And I call myself the class clown because I usually write something pretty funny. I do a lot of limericks. There once was a poetess named Red, blah, 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 blah. But I'll do some of them. I'll read some of them for you and Randy later after the show if you have a few minutes to stick around. But it is lovely. And those of us who do it, Matt and Randy, look forward to it every Wednesday. But 2 months a year, you're going to love this. It's a poem a day. It's called the PAD Poem a Day Challenge. And we do 30 or 31 poems at least, if not more. And every day you wake up early and you read the prompt and then you put your poem together. I do mine in a Word document and then I paste it into the site. And it's so much fun to get comments from the other poets and to see the styles and the depth. And they are so talented. And I've learned a lot about my poems, and I no longer have to rhyme everything, although limericks are a fun way to do it. I haven't attempted haiku yet, but I might. So I will tell you later, Matt, how to do that if you want to join their site. It's so much fun. So thank you for mentioning that, along with everything else. You're not dipping me in ice water anytime. Randy, is he going to dip you in ice water? What do you think? No?
No, but I know what he's talking about. There was one day and I had just had a shower and I thought, oh, the snow looks so good. So I was wrapped in my towel and I went down and I rolled in the snow because I just wanted to have that experience.
And what did you think?
Oh, I loved it. Oh, I just sparkled all over the place. I actually did it twice. That's hard to admit, but yes.
Randy,
Uh,
you just stopped the show. I can't talk right now. And you know how hard that is for me to stop talking. I'm just going to say, wow. With that, Randy Rolfe, I haven't seen you in a while. It's lovely to have you on. You've been on it, I think, at least twice before.
yeah.
I'm so happy you were at the summit, and I said, "Oh, Randy, got to come back." Or you said, "Bonnie, Radio Red, I have to come back." Somebody said that, and here you are. I'm delighted to have you. So, Randy, I did the frequent guest-ometer today. Matt's new, so I didn't run it for him. And Randy, I polled everybody in the world who had heard those shows where you were on with me before. And it turns out there were 19.87625 people in the world who don't remember you. So could you especially,
Oh.
I know, I'm so sorry. It's the 1918. It's just shameful. Tisk tisk on them, as I like to say. So would you please refresh? Randy, welcome back. Let's get your full bio. Randy, go ahead.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I grew up in Pennsylvania. I was quite privileged. I had a wonderful childhood, but there was a problem because my parents both had alcoholism. So when I was going to college, I said, I'm going to figure out a way to help families avoid addiction, avoid anger. There was some feuds going on in the extended family as well. And so when I was married, I was like, I have to figure out how what I should be cooking because my dad was a doctor and he gave us our vitamins and tried to eat well, but I thought there's got to be a way to extend our life to 100 years at least. Well, I want to be married 100 years. So at 21, I started doing research on the food. And we're going to be 55 in a week, 55 years married. So and it's worth it, guys. I know it's rare, but it is so worth it. Um, so I started studying actually before I got into law school. I went to law school because I traveled all over the world with my family and I wanted to make peace around the world. And what happened when I had my family was I realized that peace starts at home. It's how the kids are raised. Are they raised with confidence and power and knowing that the world loves them and the universe is there to be loved and that they can get along? And so I left law when people started asking me to write books on parenting. So my first book on parenting came out in 1985 and I've written a couple since then. And I've also written a number of books on other family relationships and on nutrition. And my newest on nutrition just came out in September. So my creativity, I never thought I was creative until I realized that I had a way of explaining things that I had already discovered from other sources, but I had a way of creatively getting people to understand, to use their own common sense to say, wow, yeah, that makes sense for parenting, for nutrition, and for just being a happy person. So now I do feel I am very creative and it's really always going on. As long as you're alive, you're creating thoughts and you're doing things that are affecting other people. And I just think that is what creation's all about. And, kids, relationships, you're always building and don't stop. I mean, you have to keep creating to keep a marriage going too.
Thank you very much, Randy, and congratulations, Mazel Tov, on 55 years. We'll
Thank
send
you.
you a virtual happy anniversary. But Randy, one thing you didn't mention, and I saw it in your bio, I don't know, I was aware of this before. Princess Buttercup the Cat's Cross Country Road Trip #3. Matt and I are both eager to hear, aren't we, Matt? We really want to hear. Are you writing children's books now, Randy Rolfe? Talk to us.
Well, no, it's really it's any age. We have a place in California as well as Pennsylvania. So we've been across the country actually close to 50 times now. But our cat, till she passed, she was going with us in a big cage in the back. And just so one time she just dictated a book about that experience.
That's lovely. I understand what dictating a book means. I wrote 3 romantic comedy plays a couple of years ago, and the characters told me what they wanted me to write down. They spoke through me. I didn't have
Yes.
to, oh, what would she say? What would he say? They just said, just start typing, Red, just keep going. And there they were. And it was amazing. And a couple of years later, I was hosting what I called a cold reading salon in a community I was living in Durham, North Carolina, and about 25 people signed up. And I put plays I had printed free, nothing that was copyrighted, but there was some Roald Dahl. Let me see, there were monologues, dialogues, there were a couple of scenes, and I printed everything out and threw it on a table. And I said, everybody, just come up and pick something that attracts you. And it would say right on the front page, dialogue for 2 people, or male voice, female voice, or whatever, a monologue or scene for people. And I said, you got 5 minutes, just shuffle through the papers and pick one. And then sit down, you got 5 minutes to thumb through it. And then somebody raise your hand and volunteer and do a cold read, holding the script. And
Cool.
one of my plays, I snuck in a scene from one of my plays, and somebody picked it. I'm hearing somebody read it. And I said, damn, that's really good dialogue. That is really funny. I said, holy crap, that's mine. Matt, I couldn't believe I had produced the plays on my TV show in New York, and I had directed them. So I knew, but I hadn't looked at the script in a couple of years. And here were people reading, and I said, that is really clever writing. I wonder which one that was. Oh, it's mine. That was a very, very nice experience. And you're right about creativity. Thank you, Randy, and thank you, Matt. Lovely bios, and I appreciate it. So this is the part of the show where I've asked each of you to please send me a fictional quote from a movie or TV character who doesn't exist in real life, only in people's imaginations, or on the screen, or in a song lyric. What can I tell you? And you're going to relate it to your own creativity. That's what we're going to be talking about. So Matt has sent a quote from Wesley, played by, and I never know how to pronounce this actor's name, Carrie. Is it Elvis or Elwis? Elwes? I don't know. The Princess Bride. That's the important thing. 1987 fantasy adventure comedy film, directed and co-produced by Rob Reiner, Carrie, whatever his name is, Robin Wright, Mandy Patinkin, one of my favorite, Chris Sarandon, Wallace Shawn, Andre the Giant, and Christopher Guest. It has become a cult film, one of the best of the 80s and one of Reiner's best works. It's number 50 on Bravo's 100 Funniest Movies, number 88 on the American Film Institute's 100 Years, 100 Passions of the 100 Greatest Film Love Stories, blah, blah, blah. And in 2016, the U.S. National Film Registry said it was culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. There we go. The story of a swashbuckling farmhand named Wesley with companions he befriended along the way who must rescue his true love, Princess Buttercup, from the odious Prince Humperdinck. The film preserves the novel's metafictional narrative style by presenting the story as a book read by a grandfather to his not so well grandson. And here's the quote. I don't know this quote because it's not the most famous one, Matt, but I love it. Matt picked this one, Randy. If only we had a wheelbarrow, that would be something. How did you find this quote? Because you know the one that's the most popular. I won't say it. Go ahead, Matt. Talk to us.
All right. So I love this quote because the scene of the movie, The Princess Bride, first off, is one of my favorite movies for comedy. It's got so many good parts in it. But this is the point in the movie where they're confronting just seemingly the biggest obstacles possible, right? He's going to go in and capture Buttercup and steal her back away from this nasty prince or the king rather. And this is a problem, right? So they've got all these men that are lined up and they're trying to be creative about what assets they have in order to rise to this occasion. And, Wesley says, if only we had a wheelbarrow. And sure enough, they have one, right? They bring it back and they're able to triumph. So why is this so important? Because at the moments of our highest stress, when we're encountering stuff that seems like this is an impassable obstacle, what am I going to do here? This seems overwhelming. If you just apply your creativity, you can rise above, right? So it really kind of linked in. I had this wonderful opportunity a couple of years ago to go on world tour with a guy named Wim Hof, and he's a pretty famous guy at this point. He's been all over the world, and we would see these crowds of 500, 700, 800, 1,000, 1,200 people, as we go through these different events. And I had this job where I had to stand in front of people and keep everybody in group flow and cohesion while groups of 50 were being taken out to do ice baths. And then they got to come back in, they've got to warm up, and they've got to stay connected to each other, right? That's almost an impossible task because you have distraction. You've got all of these things that are challenging and holding people's attention for 1 or even 2 hours at a time. And so I'd have to apply my creativity in these critical moments about how can we connect mind and body together and to each other and keep it interesting, fun, dynamic, and so forth. And it really relies on the creativity in those moments. So I love that quote because it reminds me of a lot of those things that I have to face in my own life.
And maybe you needed a wheelbarrow to take some people out of the ice bath after we can't do this. Help rescue me, Matt. I'm only teasing. That sounds interesting. What the name of what is the quote from Wallace Shawn in The Princess Bride? It's a one word. Is it you've used the, go
Is
ahead.
that inconceivable?
Inconceivable. I love Wallace Shawn because he surfaced as a professor on Young Sheldon, which is the backstory of the Big Bang Theory. If you haven't seen the series Young Sheldon, it's in its final season this year. I think it's been on for 5 or 6 or 7 years. It's worth going back and watching the development of the family, Meemaw, mom and dad, his twin sister, his brother. It's a fascinating, very, very well written series. But yes, Wallace Shawn is a constant character in at least the first 5 years. And I just love him. So thank you. Inconceivable. Thank you very much, Matt. Love the quote. Randy has found a quote from Dr. Ian Malcolm, played by Jeff Goldblum. This role launched his career, Randy. It was the big one that got him started in popularity. He was in a bunch of others before. Jurassic Park. 1993 American sci-fi action film, of course, directed by the one and only Steven Spielberg and Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, Richard Attenborough, the first installment in the Jurassic Park franchise and the first in the original trilogy, based on Michael Crichton's 1990 novel with a screenplay by Crichton and David Koepp. Dr. Ian Malcolm is a gifted mathematician who specializes in, you'll love this, Matt, chaos theory. Okay. Get him a cold bath. The ice water. The character was inspired in part by the real American historian of science, James Gleick, Gleick, and French mathematician Ivar Eklund. Jeff Goldblum's role in Jurassic Park skyrocketed his career. Malcolm has become one of the most popular characters he's ever played and depicted in many forms of pop culture. And here is the quote, 4 little words: life finds a way. Randy, I love the quote. Tell us, how is this used in the movie? But more important, how does it apply to your creativity? Go ahead.
Well, I love Jeff Bloom as a scientist, and I love the quote. And he uses it because they're saying, well, we've got all the dinosaurs controlled because they're all, I think he said they're all female or they're all male, and nothing won't, they won't multiply. And he said, life will find a way. And it did in the movie. And so I think that's so true. Life will find a way. I mean, even if humans don't get to Mars, life will keep going. And that's something we often say. My daughter's a geologist, and she says, Earth will keep going, life will keep going. If we blow ourselves up, the life will still exist. But what I like most about it is my dad was an obstetrician, and he helped parents have the kids they wanted. And he really loved life and loved that he could help people have their kids. And that idea that life renewing itself is godly, it's divine, that life can renew itself again and again. So life will find a way. And in everyday life, as Matt just said, we can find the solutions, and we get problems so that we keep growing. So yeah, it's just so simple. And my sister has a B&B, and she had people writing things on the beautiful bathroom she had in that B&B. And so I wrote, "Life will find a way" on there. It's just it's just says it all, I think. Creativity, just growing all the time.
It does. Very true. And if you substitute the word creativity for life, and maybe they're synonymous, maybe after I do this show for so many years, maybe to me, creativity is life. Ooh, that's profound. Can I copyright
Mhm.
that, Matt? I have to put a little circle after that. Creativity will find a way. And for example, today I had a third guest who didn't show up. I hope he's okay. I've called, I've left voicemail, I've emailed. He's nowhere to be found. I'm hoping in the back of my mind and in my heart, I'm hoping nothing happened to him, but I have to restructure this show very quickly with the two of you, with me talking a little more than usual to be the third guest. But I am creative about that. So life finds a way. And what's interesting is I do another show on Tuesday. I'll tell you about it later. But I mentioned to one of my guests, and they're all radio hosts. These people are all radio hosts. And I mentioned on one of the shows recently that I had taken improv classes from somebody who was a member of Chicago Second City years ago, and I did stand-up comedy. I say I'm the low budget green room warm-up comedian, Matt and Randy. Randy knows that. So this is good as it gets when I tell jokes before we go on the air. But the point was that I lost my thread. The point was that this woman who's very accomplished, very interesting, very in charge, brilliant lady, beautiful. And she emailed me after the show and she said, "Can you recommend an improv course for me? Would it help me as a host?" And I thought, oh my goodness, I haven't heard her show, but I had her on mine on a roundtable talking about radio, live radio, hosting radio, the challenges, the joys, the impact of radio. Why do we do it? Building communities, right? Sharing information. It's untethered, uncensored in a way. And she was just a wonderful panelist. And she came to me and said, "Where can I take improv? Will it help me as a host?" It's so bowled over because I didn't think anything I said would be that important, but life finds a way, right, Randy? Creativity finds a way where sometimes we're looking, Matt, for that little extra edge, aren't we? Harness the stress, harness the thought. Hear the voices, not the weird ones, the ones that want to be written into a play or a book or a novel, or a cat that talks to Randy and says, "Write a book about me. I'm traveling with you. I want to know. I want to have a book with my name on it." I don't do cat voices very well, but the point is that creativity does find a way, and I think it's interesting how people who are really creative are open to new ways of doing things, aren't they, Matt? You probably find this in your work, right? New ways of harnessing. Matt, go ahead, talk to me for a minute.
No, I was just going to say that there's two things that really came to mind with what we were saying, what everybody was talking about here. And one is that the simple is often the most profound, right? So life finds a way. Yeah, that is profound. It's simple, but it's direct. And that's what elevates to the highest ends typically, is just the simple. The other piece there is that, and this is something that Randy had mentioned, is she didn't realize she was creative until all of these other things were illuminating for her. And I feel like that's true in a lot of people's lives. And once you unlock that, it's like, everything can pour out, all their best creativity, that it's just like a plug that gets pulled and the water just starts to gush. It's once that realization, that awareness happens. And so those are the two thoughts that really came to my mind as you were speaking.
I like those. And when I go on at the National Publicity Summit, just those of you who don't know, it's right now it's about a 4 or 5 hour Zoom call where I'm sent into 15, 16, or 17 breakout rooms where I meet 2 or 3 people with a monitor from the summit with a stopwatch. And I get exactly 2 minutes and I eke it out into 2 minutes and 30 seconds because I speed book. Matt Soule, do you want to be on the show? March 4th is available. Matt, yes. Okay, Red. Okay, Matt, give me your phone number. No, it's on my one sheet. No, give it to me now. Your phone number, give me your email. And I'm typing. Matt Soule, and ice water baths and creative exercises and learning to harness stress. Okay, Randy Rolfe, you're back. So I'm doing all this for 4 hours, booking 30 or 40 people. But it's very interesting that, so what I tell people when I go to the summit is, to me, creativity isn't You have to be a singer, you have to be a dancer, you have to be an artist or a photographer or a composer or an actor. No. Randy, you said it beautifully. We all create our life. We wake up, there's no playbook for most of us, like 99%. You wake up, who do you want to be? How do you dress? How do you talk? How do you answer the phone? How do you send an email? How do you look? How do you decorate your house? How do you eat? How do you throw your garbage away? How do you talk to your kids? How do you introduce yourself to people? To me, that's the creative part. Therefore, we're all creative because we're all doing all of that stuff. So there you go. Thank you both for that little sidebar. Appreciate it. Now, let's go to the part of the show where, Matt, you just messaged me on LinkedIn. I will have to get to that after the show. It just came in. Okay. It's a little bit delayed. We'll forgive that. It's not you. I'm going to go to the part where each of you has sent me 4 creativity statements. Matt, you've already talked about your poetry, so I'm not going to pick that one. I'm going to read statement number 1 from you, Matt. I'm going to ask you to unpack it. Take about 2 minutes. No hurry. And Randy, if there's anything you want to say about Matt's statement, I think we all have 10 fingers. Let me show you what there's a new feature on. I'm going to give this. Let's see if I can get this to work. Watch this. Okay, there we go. Confetti parade. And if I do thumbs up, this is Mac OS Sonoma. I can do fireworks. I can do confetti. I can actually make it rain if I'm careful. I got to get my opposable thumbs. Oh, that's just a thumb. Okay, I can make it rain and thunderstorm and all kinds of things, and hearts too. Oh, I can do a heart. Let's see if we can get the heart to go. I don't want to waste too much time here. We get the heart? Nope, it's not picking up the heart. We'll try it later. Oh, you have to do the whole hand. Let's see. Does it recognize it? Come on, Red. Nope, we're not going to get the hearts. Okay, I love you both. All right, so Matt, I'm going to read this. Randy, I think you have 10 fingers. I hope you can wiggle one of them that's not the mean one in the middle. Any of the other fingers, if you want to talk, just wiggle a nice finger and I will call on you. Then I'll pick a statement from you, Randy. I'll read it. And Matt, you can respond as well. No requirement, just it's open season here. So Matt says, creativity is everywhere in my world, from designing specialized workshops to training martial arts and daily writing. I want you to pick that apart, Matt, the specialized workshops, designing them, and especially the daily writing. So talk to us for a couple minutes, Matt, please.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you. So with regard to the specialized workshops, I've been tapped by different companies that wanted to have workshops for their employees, for example. One such one was from Amazon, and they wanted their employees to have a self-defense class, but everybody that was part of this particular course had some self-described challenge. So maybe they didn't see very well or had one eye that wasn't working very well, or maybe they had some kind of other physical impairment that struggled for speed or something along those lines. And everybody gathered in a room, and my job was to gather or to design a curriculum that allowed everybody to excel their best regardless, right? To just rise to their highest potential in this setting. And I had about 2 hours to teach this workshop. Well, you can imagine that takes quite a bit of creativity to say, how am I going to meet the needs of everybody? So, because it's not that everybody had the same issue, everybody had a different issue. And yet my job was to pull the best out of each one of them and to empower them to rise to that potential. And sure enough, by all measures, we had a great time. Everybody had a lot of success. They understood, because what I try to do is teach from a principle base that allows it to apply to any specific person. And each one did remarkably well, walking away feeling super empowered, and were able to apply that in their own lives. So that would be one example. Another example, I had this lady that she was really challenged because she was a forensics officer and she needed to take some different information from people that were arrested for different crimes, and often pretty violent crimes. And she was caught in a little cubicle area with a door, and then the door to the outside was where the police would stay. So she had multiple door barriers between her and dealing with some of these guys. And for the most part, everything went fine. But once in a while, things would go sideways in a big, big way. And so she's like, all right, how can I position and she's this tiny little lady. She was about 5 foot tall, tons of gusto, but not a lot of physical prowess. And she's like, how am I going to protect myself in this setting long enough to have these officers come in and protect me should it need to happen? And so we were creative about how we use the space, how we can set up the dynamic, how to use directives in order to stay more protected. And so that would be another example of how to use creativity in that setting.
I love that. Talk about daily writing too. What kind of writing do you do every day? You said you write poems twice a year for your daughter. What writing do you do? Is it for you or for others? Go ahead.
Wonderful. So the daily writing stuff, I love to write whatever comes to my heart and mind. So I journal a lot. Sometimes I'll do specific protocols around journaling if I need something specific. Otherwise, I'm just typing notes. And I've always got ideas about creating characters or storylines, usually short stories that I share with my family, or I'll write something so that I can entertain people at the next family gathering or friend gathering, something along those lines. So I'm always writing something. I'll be taking notes because I read a lot of scientific literature, and I'll be doing writing around that so that I can apply it to my work. But there's always something happening, and I find that it's just a wonderful outlet. I'll often start with a basic writer's exercise of 3 minutes to just get my thoughts down, just if I'm having any trouble that particular day, and that'll flush my system out, and then I'll go to work, whatever I want to do, and write for a while. I think it's a wonderful exercise.
I love it. Randy, any comments? I saw you writing. What do you think?
Sure, yes. Well, yes, the journaling, I never got into journaling because I thought whenever I tried it, I just sort of I got bored with myself. But I'm always thinking. So I started just writing down things that I wanted to write down. So I might not write for 3 days, but then I'd have this cascade of great ideas. And I love words and trying to find the perfect way to say an idea. Instead of in 20 words, make it 12 and then maybe 5. And I love doing that. And in my latest book, I made a whole document of sound bites, and I'm still adding things to that I can use in promoting the book. And so, yeah, so don't let journaling scare you that you have to do something every day. You can just have a book, because I realized I was putting notes around, but then I wouldn't be able to find them. So why not have it in one book, all your great ideas. So, and also I remember a wonderful workshop I went to where we broke boards. When you said, let everybody do something they've never done before that they're really going to feel good about. And so we broke boards, and it was really fascinating. It was a big part, I'm sure you saw that, of just having people cheering you, the people who'd already done it, or the people that were waiting to do it, just go, 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 and you have to look through the board, not at the board, just know you're going to get through it. And that took me a little while, but I did do it. But it meant a lot to have all that support. And I think that's where we're social beings. Um, and I did want to mention Wallace Shawn. You talked about him, Bonnie,
Yes.
that he did a wonderful movie I just watched again, but it was like 25 years old, the Dinner with Andre. Did you ever see that? It's
No.
yeah, it's very philosophical, but he asks all these great questions from Andre, and I still don't remember what his last name was, but they really covered a lot about life and creativity, and it's an amazing movie. And so when you say Wallace Shawn, I always think of that movie as well as Princess Bride.
I'll try
But
to
yeah, I
find
love the
it.
wheelbarrow. Didn't they put the Wellesley in the wheelbarrow because they couldn't rouse him up because he'd been so tortured? Wasn't that what they did with the wheelbarrow? That was so wonderful. I love that. I'm glad you mentioned that. I love that. That was our kids' favorite movie for years and years and years. It hit them just the right time.
I love it when my guests listen to each other and speak to each other. I love these conversations that just happen, right? This is all life is improv. I didn't plan this, right? I have a little treat for both of you, something I keep in my notes I haven't read in a while. I read David Byrne. You know who David Byrne is, the former Talking Heads frontman David Byrne, was a guest on somebody's podcast, Stephen Johnson. I don't know who he is. The podcast is called How Ideas Happen. And David Byrne was asked how he finds inspiration and develops into songs. I think he's writing a play, a Broadway play I read recently. He's come out of wherever he is and he's doing something else. So here's the thought about little beginnings. And Randy and Matt, this will speak to what you two have just been saying. He said, sometimes I have just the title of a song that comes to me and I write it down and I go, expand on that. I think there's something there. And I also have in my computer a whole lot of musical ideas that maybe have a melody, a nonsense word melody, awaiting the words. But usually I need something to start with. It's hard to start from nothing. I'll accumulate these very little beginnings. And when I come back, I've got something to build on. That's a quote from the interview. And then here, I'm not sure where I got this, but this was part of what I read on the podcast transcript. Our minds fizz with fragments of ideas, puzzles to ponder, clues on how to fix a problem. Most of us undervalue that chatter. Writers and artists systematically capture the little beginnings. And he said, choose an old entry, write something down. His musical fragments, he writes them and goes back to something and he spends 30 minutes trying to improve it. I thought you'd both get a kick on that. Any thoughts about little beginnings? Randy, you were just talking about that. What do you think? Good?
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I wait. My books, they gestate quite a while, but they don't produce themselves until I get a title. And my first book was called You Can Postpone Anything But Love. And that just came into my head when I was driving home from work, and I wanted to spend more time with my kids. And because, you can't postpone love, it's got to be now. And it
Yes.
applies to all of life that, that's one thing you can't postpone. If you're not thinking from love right this minute, doesn't matter if you're going to do it tomorrow or you did it yesterday. Doesn't matter.
We have to call Diana Ross and tell her the song was You Can't Hurry Love. We got to tell her she was wrong. Matt, any comments on the little beginnings?
The little beginnings is such a valuable concept. And I can recall early in my 20s, I've loved to write for a long time, but I'd often find myself having these really beautiful insights or that little thing that, oh, I should write this down, but I'll remember it later, would be my response. And I would put it off and then I'd sit down and I'm ready to write because I've had all of these great inspiration and I'm ready for the muse to come. And what's happened? It's gone. Where did it go? And I'm trying to recreate it, but it's not the same. And I found that over the years, okay, I really want to make sure that I write down every little thing of that, the types of the little things, the inspirations, those moments that are aha or insights. And finding that I do that when I now go back and I want to write, I can piece them all together. The threads are already there, and it's just a matter of linking the dots together. And it comes out so nicely. So I think that it's a valuable exercise, and it can be across the board. It doesn't have to be for a story. It doesn't have to be for any specific context. It could be for a business idea. It could be for, any number of different endeavors, and it shows up. So I think it's a wonderful practice. I absolutely love it. One thing that Randy's mentioned that is so wonderful as well is about trying to pare things down. So if I start with 20 words, now I get to 12, and now I want to say it so succinctly in 5. What a power that is. It reminds me of, I can't remember the famous writer
Yes.
who a very long letter, and at the end he said, I apologize that it wasn't short enough. I didn't have time.
Yes. Yes. I
That
I
was
don't remember.
Lincoln. That
Was
was
it
Abraham
Lincoln?
Lincoln.
Yep. And I think it's been attributed to several people. I used to use a quote investigator and they'll say, who was this quote? Anyway, I wanted to tell you both that a trick I've used over the years is I keep an Outlook calendar for appointments. And sometimes I'll make an appointment with myself and I'll put it in my calendar. For example, before every radio show, I have what's called pre-show prep. It's 1 hour. I won't schedule meetings. I won't schedule anything in that 1 hour just to get ready, to get set up on my live stream, on my restream, put my notes in, finalize everything, do any research, get ready, get my background ready. By the way, this is a brand new background. Randy, this is not the one you're used to seeing for the show.
No.
I created this in Night Cafe Studio. It's AI. And the prompt was make me a moonscape with soap, oil, water, and tinsel and a red microphone. And there are actually 4 lipsticks behind me with red lipstick. And then I went into Photoshop. Yes, it still exists. And I put Read My Lips, Cool Conversations with Creators with akaRadioRed. And I added the lips instead of the word. I've been meaning to do that for years. So I'm using my own AI creativity for my art now, for my background. I've got a whole bunch more, but this one lets me sit near my mic without blocking the words. Anyway, I want to read. My goodness, we have 9 minutes left. Where has the hour gone? I cannot believe this. Just two people and me, and we're doing great. Randy, I want to read one of your statements, and then I have a couple of famous birthdays we're going to have fun with. So let's do this quickly. Randy says, I am inspired by the creative and performing arts. I love movies. I love theater. I love dance. I love music, and I consider them essential to my own creative processes. I encourage others to discover that they are creative too. Randy, just take 2 minutes for this, and then we're going to have some more fun. Go ahead, Randy.
Yes, well, I do love movies. I don't like scary movies. I'm already emotionally involved in life. I don't need to be prompted to feel any fear, but we watch so many romantic comedies together, my husband and and I think that can be a really wonderful way to recreate the romantic sense and encourage you. And comedies are awesome, family comedies. There's so many good ones, and it's funny, we kind of rediscovered the 40s movies, and now we've been looking at the 30s movies. They are absolutely wonderful. So thank you for TCM. And they're delightful. And I particularly like the women in the 30s. They were very liberated and fun, so much fun. Jean Harlow, just amazing. And Irene Dunn, just all of them were just fabulous. So it's nice to look back and see the changes we've gone through as a culture, but also to know some of these famous names that you may not have seen, and they were amazing in the classic Hollywood era.
Thank you.
And I've got 4,000 books in my library, so obviously I like reading, and I consider a lot of my friends are long dead. My husband and I are reading Aeschylus aloud to each other in the morning for 20 minutes. So yeah, we're always bringing more information and art into our lives. And my husband has painted since he retired from law. So yeah, we're surrounded by
Nice.
great input.
Living the creative dream. Matt, I'll give you 1 minute to comment, and then I have some stuff to do. Go ahead, Matt.
Wonderful. So I've got a question for you, Randy. Is a good movie selection or art one of the keys to a good marriage?
Oh,
Ooh.
yes. That's a great
Ooh.
question. And sharing it and not having one person decide every time. You get to choose. We watch, adventure as well. He
See the
doesn't like
hearts?
the really gory stuff, but
Did you?
yeah,
I made hearts for you, Randy. There we go. See the hearts on the screen? There we go.
yes.
Okay, I had to do
Oh,
that.
good. You did it. That's
I
great.
did it. Yes, I love that. Thank you both for the interesting comments. I have some we've got 6 minutes left, and I want to use them to go through some music history. In 1978, the number three song, Sometimes When We Touch by Dan Hill, listen to this, was the only song in the top five not written by a member of the Bee Gees. The only song. Andy Gibbs' Love is Thicker Than Water was number one. Staying Alive was number two. Night Fever was number five. And Emotion, written by Bobby, Robin, and Barry, was number four. The only song in the top five on this day in 1978 was not written by the Bee Gees. I thought that was interesting. In 1993, on this date, Melanie Chisholm, Melanie Brown, two Mels, and Victoria Adams were among 400 hopefuls at a London dance studio auditioning for producers who were to form a new group. Guess what? Jerry Halliwell and Emma Bunton were joining with them, and they became the Spice Girls. 400 girls showed up. Okay, in 2001 on this date, Michael Jackson and Macaulay Culkin, Home Alone, spent the night shopping at a London record store that stayed open hours later to accommodate them. Okay. On this day, let's see, Katy Perry in 2017, the song Chained to the Rhythm hit number four, making guest vocalist Skip Marley the first member of the Marleys to land a top 10. And let's see, at 58 years old in 2020, just 4 years ago, Garth Brooks became the youngest recipient of the Library of Congress Gershwin Prize for Popular Song. Before that, it had been Gloria and Emilio Estefan, Tony Bennett, Willie Nelson, Billy Joel, who's back in full force now, Carole King, and Paul McCartney. Today is the birthday of Maria Brañas. Have you heard of her, Randy? Have you heard of her? Okay. She's 116 years old. She was named the oldest living person in 2023 at 115 after Lucille Randon had the nerve to die at 118 last January. She attributes her age to good genes. She has never dieted. She has never drank, and she has never smoked. Okay. And by the way, she was a nurse alongside her husband in the Spanish Civil War. She fell off of a boat her family took to the U.S. from U.S. back to Spain and lost hearing in one ear, and she played the piano until she was 108. Oh my goodness gracious. Catherine O'Hara, the actress, is 70 today. Patricia Hitton is 66. I have three social media stars. I've got enough time for this. TikTok. There's somebody named Emerson Odell. It's a girl, 16 years old. The reason I'm mentioning her is because she does dance clips, lip syncs. Oh, it's a man. I'm sorry. Dance clips, lip syncs. I thought it was lipstick, and moments with his football team. He posts vlogs and prank videos. Are you ready for this? Randy, you sitting down? Matt, are you sitting? Matt looks like he's sitting down. Okay. He only has 2.7 million followers. I just wanted you to know. He takes pictures with his football team. We have a young lady who's 24 named Holly Lang. This is a girl. She only has 2.3 million fans. So sorry. Original comedy and sketch series she uploads to her channel, 2.3 million. And that's it for that. Let's see what else we have here. The music history today. Fun facts about Names Day. This is March 4th. It's International Scrapbooking Industry Day. It's March 4th, Forth. It's National Dance the Waltz Day. I was a dance teacher and I remember that, although I didn't teach waltz too hard. Grammar Day, Marching Band Day, Pound Cake Day. It's Quinton Day. You know anybody named Quinton? Say hello. It's not his or her birthday. It's Ray Day, R-A-Y. It's Aardvark Week. Find an aardvark and say hello. It's Procrastination Week. I'll get to that later. It's Salt Awareness Week and Women in Aviation. We are now in March. It's this week, first week of March is the Festival of the Owls. And you're supposed to write a letter of appreciation. I'll tell both of you I appreciate you. It's the month of dolphin awareness, Mad for Plaid, crochet month, read an ebook month, small press month, humorists or artists month, youth art. It's craft month, ghostwriters month, optimism month, mirth month, expanding girls' horizons in science and engineering, umbrella month, and play the recorder. Food celebrated in March are celery, flour, noodles, okay, peanuts, sauce, they didn't say what, veggies, berries and cherries, exotic winter fruit and leeks and green onions, and caffeine awareness. Watch your caffeine. I want to thank both of you. Don't go away. I have a little closing to do. Matt Soule, total pleasure. Delighted to have you. You're a force of nature. I appreciate you, and I'm going to get you a better PR picture because I've been taking them all along. Randy Rolfe, it's always a revelation having you on the show. Every time I see you and talk to you, I learn more about your brilliance, your creativity, your dedication, and your good heart, and I appreciate you. So let's do this closing now. And by the way, in 2014, I had on my radio show the top 10 tips for women in my closing. And the first tip was 2014. This is 10 years ago, Randy. Aspire to be Barbie. The biatch has everything. On that note, I'm going to close now. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly. Well, I don't know. Kiss slowly. Definitely. Love truly. Join me in a quick laugh. Both of you very loud. 1, 2, 3. Laugh uncontrollably. Oh, you could do better than that. And never regret anything that made you smile. Here we go. Work like you don't need the money. Nobody really cares except you. Dance like no one's watching. They watched me teach disco, trust me. Sing like nobody's listening. I didn't sing today. Love like you've never been hurt. We all have. Get over it. Money talks. Chocolate sings. La. And last but not least, I stole this line from a host 20 years ago. Thank you for turning me on. Radio Red. Wave goodbye to LinkedIn. Wave goodbye to Facebook. Wave goodbye to Jordan, our engineer. Wave goodbye virtually to Voice America Empowerment. Jordan, are we out? I'm right on time today.
All clear. Great stuff.
Thank you very much. I appreciate